Yeah, I want to thank you so much for inviting me. When I heard about the invitation, I automatically wanted to accept because I have received so much benefit from the Tibetan community that this is one way that maybe I can try and repay that kindness. Yeah, because I lived, even though I don't speak Tibetan, commençons, you know, my teachers are Tibetans, and just what they gave me, how they've affected my life, is something that nobody else could do. So I'm very, very grateful. Yeah. And if there's any Tibetan young people listening, then I want to encourage you to please learn Tibetan language. Yeah, you're growing up in America, but your culture is important, and the language and Buddhism that you have available to you in your own language is important. So really take advantage of it and learn Tibetan. Yeah. Okay, with that, I always like to start talks just with you know, watching the breath for a minute, quiet the mind, and setting our motivation. So you want to just lower your eyes and come back to your breath for a minute, breathing naturally, and just let the mind relax and open. And then at the beginning of all of our talks, we look at our motivation. So take a moment and ask yourself, what was my motivation for coming to hear this talk? So there's no right or wrong answers, but just to get to know yourself. You know, why did I come? What was my motivation? And then whatever motivation we started out with, let's build on it and have the motivation of wanting to develop a kind heart, wanting to develop compassion and the ability to communicate well so that we can use our talents for the benefit of other living beings. So take a moment and make that your motivation for being here today. Okay. So we may have come here for all sorts of different reasons. Another question that I want to ask, this is mostly a Microsoft group. Yeah. Why do you work here? Why do you go to work every day? Yeah. What's the motivation for going to work every day? Just pause for a minute and think about it. Because our motivation really says something about what benefit we will reap from going to work, from doing what we do. Yeah. And our motivation is also indicative of the effect of what we do on ourselves and on others. So most people, when I ask, why do you go to work? The answer is, they say a little bit sheepishly, but truthfully, to make money. Yeah, that's what our society is really tells us is what being successful means. You make money, a lot of it, okay? From a Buddhist viewpoint, yeah, money's nice, it serves purposes, but to make it the meaning of our life really restricts us. It makes our mind quite narrow because then we evaluate everything in terms of how much money will I get from it, or how much prestige, how much status will I get in my job, how much acknowledgement, appreciation. And often this comes about in, if you are good at what you're doing, then you make more money. So money, kind of is why we do things. It's how we measure success. Again, from a Buddhist perspective, we don't look at our life as just from the perspective of one life. We believe in previous lives, we believe in future lives, yeah? And so our motivation is going to determine how we direct our life and how we live the rest of our life and what kind of rebirth we take in the future. Now, the problem with using things like money and status as the measure of our success in the world is limited because we all have a limited lifespan in this life. We're all going to die. There's no way to get around it. Yeah. As soon as we're born, we're aging, and death is the natural end of this life. Can you take your money with you when you die? Can you take your status and appreciation with you when you die? Yeah, we hear of people dying with regret when they look back on their life, and I've never heard of anybody dying with the regret of, oh, I should have earned more money. Yeah, I should have worked more overtime. I should have had a higher position. Because at the time of death, all of that stuff is like mist that evaporates when the sun comes out. None of it comes with us. So at the time of death, when we look back on our life, what is it that is important? Yeah. And I think it has to do with how we relate to other people, how we contributed to society, how we contributed to the benefit of the people around us. In other words, the purpose of our life isn't just self-glory in terms of money and status. Yeah, it has to do with what's going on in our heart. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who live with ourselves. And the world around us can say, you're wonderful, but if we don't feel good about ourselves, because we know that our motivation was quite self-centered, then what? Yeah, we don't really have any sense of fulfillment in our lives. So where does compassion come into all of this? Okay, I think compassion is what we want to make one of a chief factor in our motivation. Yeah, because our motivation is the key to determining the value of what we do. Okay, so this is very different than how regular society looks at things. Yeah, because and why is our motivation key? Because like I said, we're the ones who have to live with ourselves. And we're at the bottom of the day, you know, at the end of the day, we have to live with ourselves. And we are the only ones who really truly know what our motivations for doing things are. And it's very possible to present a wonderful exterior and convince other people that we are wonderful and kind and innovative and progressing society. But maybe that's not what our core motivation was. Yeah. So this is why, because when it's only self-interest that motivates us, then we're kind of stuck. Yeah, we don't feel good about ourselves because everything we do is just about my money, my status, my reputation, what people say about me. You know, do they like me? Do they accept me? You know, all this kind of stuff. Very self-oriented. And in our hearts, we know that when that's the motivation for our life, that something really big is missing. Yeah, because we live in a world with so many countless other living beings. And what have we contributed to them? Yeah. And how do we relate to others? Do we relate with a kind attitude, or are we always trying to get ahead, you know, compete, be better than them, put somebody else down so I can make myself better? Yeah, and that kind of attitude, you know, I think when we're alone with ourselves, at least I know for myself, when I act like that, then I don't feel good about myself. Yeah, because my motivation was all about me, I, my, and mine. Yeah, and the problem with that motivation is that we are never satisfied with whatever we have and whatever we get. Yeah, we always want more, we always want better, and so there's no sense of fulfillment in our heart, no sense of peace in our heart. When we reorient our life, when we change our focus from just me, I, my, and mine to countless living beings and their welfare and their happiness, then the question becomes, what can I contribute? Yeah. And then we all have unique talents, unique abilities. And I think when we can contribute something useful to the world, or even to the happiness of 1, 2, or 3 other people, there's a sense of peace in our heart, there's a sense of fulfillment. And at the end of the day, and even every day, how we feel, that is what I think makes us feel good about our life. Yeah. So how do we cultivate that feeling of connection with others, where our attitude is working for the benefit of everybody, not just working for the benefit of me? Okay? And this is where kindness comes in. So in America, the typical American attitude is, well, I didn't ask to be born, so my parents owe me something. And, you know, ever since Freud, then we like to blame our parents for our problems. And this, again, you know, like families, all families have family dramas, all families have problems. It's nothing new, okay? And we can complain all we want about our family, but that doesn't change anything, because we can't make other people change and become what we want them to be. Yeah. So what has to change to live peacefully with other people is what's going on in here. Yeah. So in Asian cultures, you're raised to think of the kindness of your parents and to want to take care of your parents. In the West, not so much. Yeah. It's, we're quite an individualistic society here, which I think contributes a lot to people's feeling of not being good enough. Yeah, because we're comparing ourselves to others, we're an individual, but other people are always better than us. Yeah. Okay, when we adapt or adopt an attitude of kindness, that really changes that way of looking at other people, and it repositions ourselves in terms of how we relate to society, okay? So we start out with thinking of the kindness that we've received from other people, okay? I don't know, I was never taught that in school, to think of the kindness of other people. Yeah. And Buddhism really emphasizes that. And for me, this is what helped me personally have a totally different relationship with my family, is I started to see the people there as kind and see, you know, really think about what they had done for me. And not just the kindness received from family, yeah, but the kindness just all around, yeah. And especially at this day and age, especially what is going on in the world, and especially what's going on in this country, thinking of kindness is, and really learning to take in the kindness around us and to see it, is something kind of revolutionary. Yeah. So kindness from our friends, that's easy. Yeah, of course. I mean, they're our friends. They're kind. That's why they're our friends. If they weren't kind, they probably wouldn't be our friends. Yeah. So we can easily see the kindness of our friends. But looking around in society as a whole, what about the kindness of strangers? Yeah. kindness of strangers. So I gotta confess, I'm a Microsoft user. Yeah. I use Outlook. It needs some improvements. I use I use Word. That's okay. Yeah. And I've written books using Word. Yeah. Outlook. But Excel, I don't use too much. Yeah. Yeah, because I write. Yeah, I'm a writer. But I look, when I open my computer, who invented the computer? Who made this computer? Who did the programs? I'm using my computer every day. I don't know how many hours, not as many as you people at Microsoft do, but many hours a day. But I can't invent this myself. Yeah, I cannot make a computer myself. I cannot make a program. I can barely use a program. Yeah. So where did it all come from? It all came from you people designing things. You don't know me. You're total strangers. But what you did benefits me. So then I see, when I think about this, I see myself as the recipient of a tremendous amount of kindness, even from people that I don't know, that I probably, most of you, I mean, the people in this room I know now, but other people I don't know, But it's through your kindness that I have this. How did I get here? Yeah, well, it started out in Newport, Washington, in the middle of nowhere at our monastery. Yeah. And we rode in a car to get to the airport. Yeah. Where did the car come from? Who made the car? Where did the materials of the car come from? Where did the design of the car come from? Yeah. What about the roads? We started out on a gravel road. We got to a paved road. We finally got to I-90. Yeah. Who made the roads? Yeah. When I look, everything around me is made by other sentient beings. Everything I use every day, yeah, is made by other living beings. Yeah. What about, whatever knowledge I have? Again, whatever knowledge I have, it's not because I'm a brilliant person who thought of all of these things myself. Yeah, I write books about Buddhism. I am using other people's ideas. I'm using the Buddha's ideas. This is not my creative endeavor. I can't teach you the path to awakening. But again, it's come to me through the Buddha and through a whole lineage of over 2,000 years, of people passing the knowledge and the wisdom down, and then my teachers sharing it with me. Yeah. The roads that we drove on, the plane that we took to get from Spokane here, all these things that I take for granted in my life all came from other people. Yeah. Even my ability to speak, yeah, our ability to speak, our ability to read and write, things, skills that we take for granted in our daily life, that we use all the time. If we stop and ask ourselves, we weren't born knowing how to speak a language. We weren't born knowing how to drive a car, learning how to add or subtract. All of our knowledge came from other living beings who taught us, starting with preschool, kindergarten, all the way up, we've benefited from other people and their kindness to teach us. Yeah. And so how often do we stop and think about this so that we can really see ourselves as the recipient of amazing kindness? Because if it wasn't for other people's teaching us, if it wasn't for other people making all the things that we use, you know, where would we be? Yeah, nowhere. Nowhere. And yet, how often do we stop to see that? How often when we look at other people, do we look at them with eyes of appreciation and eyes of kindness? Because whatever job they do in society, in one way or another, we benefit from it. Okay? Namgyal made Tibetan dessert, sweets, kapse. Yeah? Made from flour, that is fried, deep fried. Okay. Where did the flour come from? Who grew those plants? Who harvested them? Who shipped them, you know, the wheat and made it into flour? Who packaged the bags of flour? Who made the grocery store where you probably got it? When we look back, I mean, the train of interconnected dependency and reliance on other living beings is mind-boggling when we really think about it. Yeah. And I think more than any other time in human history, we are dependent on one another. Yeah, we're completely dependent on one another. None of us can live on our own. Yeah? Anybody here know how to grow the food that you ate for lunch? Anybody here know how to make the cloth that your clothing is made out of? Yeah? Those of us who wear glasses, anybody make their own glasses? I mean, this web of interdependency is just total amazing. And it's from other people's efforts done out of kindness. And we're the recipients. Now, somebody's going to raise their hand and say, but, whatever jobs they had, they did it because they wanted to make money. Okay, maybe, but they were supporting their family, fair enough. But the bottom line of kindness isn't that they did it for me specifically because I am somebody special. You know, for you to be kind to me, you have to see me as special and do something for me that nobody else has done. I don't use that standard to evaluate kindness. I use the standard of, have I benefited? What kind of benefit have I received from others? And when I look around, everybody in one way or another has done something in this interconnected web, yeah, that I have benefited from. Yeah, and this goes internationally, you know, it applies to all human beings, doesn't matter, race, gender, education, doesn't matter, yeah, but, you know, we've all benefited from each other's labors, yeah, and in that way, we're the recipients of kindness. So what I try and do to help my mind be aware of this, and also to show other people that I really am aware of their kindness to me, is I try and be kind in return, okay? So to say hello, first of all, to greet somebody and say hello and smile at them, okay? You know, so it doesn't matter if I'm in a store, if I'm getting on or off a plane, you know, we affect other living beings. And if I can smile and be kind, it helps other people. Yeah. So when the garbage collector comes, yeah, and garbage collectors are very important to society. Yeah, we take these people so much for granted. Let me tell you, have any of you ever been in a city where the garbage collectors are on strike? I was in a city once when the garbage collectors were on strike. Then you really appreciate what garbage collectors do and how much our health depends on them collecting the garbage. Because if they don't collect the garbage, disease just goes rampant, clutter, filth, you know. So it's important to thank our garbage collectors. You know, when you see them on the road putting their stuff in the back of the truck and all, to say thank you. And I try and make it a practice also when we get stopped for road work, people doing the roads. And many people, when there's road work, they look at the workers and say, why aren't you doing this at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm not driving here? No, that's not what we should be asking. It's thank you so much for making the road. If you didn't make the road, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere. Yeah. So it's training our mind to look around and really seeing this amazing interdependency. I heard that 97% of our shoes are made in China. Okay? Look at your shoes for a minute. Yeah, do you value your shoes? Yeah, can you think that there's probably people in China getting paid like not very much money? But that's where our shoes are coming from. Yeah, and so much of our cloth made, in Myanmar, made in Vietnam, yeah, made in other places, Bangladesh. Yeah, I want to see made in Tibet. Yeah, someday we will see made in Tibet. Yeah, but it comes from other people that we don't even know. Yeah, and who probably work for hardly anything. Even in this country, who works in the fields? Yeah, very often it's undocumented workers who get paid less than minimum wage. Yeah, do we appreciate what they've done? Yeah, during COVID, who worked in the stores? Who worked in the nursing homes, in the hospitals? Yeah, very often people that are undocumented, and to really see their contribution and their kindness. So this is a mind training. In Buddhism, we talk a lot about training our mind, okay? So one of the mind trainings is to practice seeing kindness around us. Yeah, and when we do, it's everywhere. And I think this is especially important right now in terms of what's happening in the world, what's happening in the country, that we are able to look at other people that we share the planet with eyes of kindness, and to wish them well, and to have a kind attitude towards them. Yeah. And then this is where our motivation of making a positive contribution comes in. Yeah, because we want to repay that kindness. So, if you go to work and you think, because everybody has different jobs, and you think, I want to contribute to the benefit of society. Yeah, so at Microsoft, I want to benefit others. And so you develop programs and things that are going to benefit. And you think about the effects of all of what you're doing. Because I think especially in the tech profession, we need to think about not just the future of tech and what we can develop, but how these things are going to be used and how we can, when you create them, how you can help the people who use them have a kind mind and use these things wisely. Yeah. So everybody's talking about AI these days. Yeah. Everybody's talking about being online 25/8. It's no longer 24/7. It's everybody's online all the time. What effect is this having on children? Yeah. What is the effect when you're busy working, looking at a screen all day, and you go home and your kids are looking at screens, and then you send messages back and forth from one room to the other, but you don't talk to each other? Yeah. What is the effect on a child's mind when the screen is their best friend? Yeah. We have to think about these kinds of things because we're human beings. Yeah. And it's not towards building bigger and better things. It's towards using things with kindness and with wisdom. Yeah. I know, in the country, there's this emphasis, we want to go to the moon, we want to settle Mars, I can volunteer some people to go to Mars first. I hope they enjoy it. But if we can't get along with each other on planet Earth, what use is going to Mars? Yeah, what use is going to the moon if we can't slow down and learn to communicate with each other with a heart of kindness and a heart that wishes other people well? So I think this is where we have to, for society to be harmonious and for us to be happy in our own lives, yeah, to really think about this, because the happiness, the sense of fulfillment, I think really comes from knowing that we've contributed something beneficial. That's the key word, beneficial. What is going to benefit other people? Not how am I going to be the most famous? How am I going to be, win over my competitors, whether Microsoft is competing with some other tech company or whether in your own teams you're competing with your colleagues. Yeah. So how can we work together so that everybody thrives, so that each of us, because we all have unique talents and abilities, if we could share our talents and abilities, even a little bit. I'm not talking about high in the sky, like ideal word. Let's just start with our own capability right now. How can we cooperate with others and think ahead about not only what we want to design, but what the benefit is, how it will benefit, how people can use it so that it brings them more of a feeling of fulfillment in their own lives, more of a feeling of connection. Yeah. Because especially with the young people now, so many of them feel lonely. Yeah. they feel lonely. They've done studies, you know, about Gen Z. I read something about Gen Z. I can't keep up with all these letters, but, you know, kind of the younger cohort. And, you know, these kids are anxious. You know, they have a lot of pressure from their parents. Be better, be successful. Yeah. And who did they talk to? Who did they spend time with? Not with real living beings. Yeah, with screens. Now, yes, there's people on the other side of the screen, but there's a big difference between talking to somebody in person and talking to them on a screen. Okay? I read a story once about a couple who met, it must have been on one of these dating apps. Okay, they got to know each other. They really liked the other person, so they decided to meet in person. When they met in person, they couldn't talk to each other. So what they did is they went to different rooms and then they FaceTimed or emailed or whatever they did, you know, Zoomed back and forth. That's how they felt comfortable communicating. Something is missing. Yeah, human connection is so important. Yeah, so I say that as somebody who, you know, when I teach, it goes online. We live stream. It's archived. We have a huge archive. People go in and, you know, we have an online course that people can do. But what I'm always say to the people is, you know, this is great if you live in Timbuktu and there's no Dharma center anywhere around, you know, then use the internet, yeah, watch things online. But if you can go and be in the presence of a real living teacher, that makes a whole big difference. Yeah, a huge difference to sit in a room with somebody who's actually looking at you, you know, in real time, and with other people who are real people, who are learning together with you, who you can discuss with afterwards and talk with afterwards. Yeah, it's so different. Yeah, so tech has a really important place, but we really need to look at how it's being used and how, especially with the young people, to help them be able to connect with other living beings. And for them to be able to do it, we adults have to monitor it or, you know, model it. Yeah. So how many people nowadays in busy America, not just Microsoft, but all across, and not just America, everywhere in the world, you know, how many, at the end of the day, do you go home and talk to your kids in person and say, how was your day? What did you learn? Yeah. Do you know the names of your kids' friends? Yeah. And just, you know, what's going on in your kids' minds? What are they thinking about? Yeah. What do they like? What don't they like? Because I think so often parents become nowadays like drill sergeants in the Army. Okay, the alarm went off, get up, you're late, eat your breakfast quickly, get in the car, we're going to school, get out of the car, go to class, did you do your homework? Just go, learn something. Yeah, I won't be home when you get there. I'm not sure what time I'll be home. Maybe you'll be asleep already by the time I get back. But have a good day. I love you. That's how you talk to your kids. Yeah. What are kids going to grow up feeling? Yeah. So we need this in-person connection. Yeah, and especially with children, the sense of touch, hugging your kids so that they really know that you care and value them. Okay? So, what I'm getting at is looking at the world with a different set of values. Yeah. And I think our values are really crucial to how we live. What do we value? What do we think is important in our lives? And how much time have people spent thinking about that? Yeah. When we, tomorrow morning we're leaving, I was invited to go to Yale and give some talks. They have a course there. I can't remember the exact name of the course, but it's something like what is a worthwhile life?
A life worth living.
What is a life worth living? What is a life worth living? And I thought, wow, they have a course like this for college kids. They didn't have that when I was in college. But this is an important question. Yeah, what makes your life meaningful to you? Yeah. And again, here we see the interconnection with other living beings, the ability to contribute. Yeah. Before we can contribute kindness, there's another step. We have to stop harming. Okay? Stop harming. Sometimes people delight in harming living beings. I won't name any names, but you probably know some people, yeah, who delight in exerting their power to harm living beings. Yes, they have power, they have fame, maybe they have wealth. Does that make them happy? Do happy people harm others? Yeah? Does somebody who's happy with their life, with themselves, with their life, wake up in the morning and say, I feel so great, the sun is shining, I'm really happy, I think I'm going to go make somebody else miserable and harm them? Does anybody who's happy do that? Come on. Okay? When we harm others, it's because of unhappiness in ourselves. And we somehow think that harming them will make us happy. Huh? I rejoice when I can harm other people. What kind of person does that make me? That I rejoice in other people's suffering. That's not a recipe for feeling good about yourself. Yeah, I rejoice, I put that person down, I showed them that I'm better than them. I told them that what they're doing is just hogwash and they're worthless. I feel proud of myself. I got even for their transgressions against me. Yeah? You really feel good about that? When you're home alone, looking at your day, looking at your mind, do you feel good when you harm other people? I don't think so. I know I don't. Yeah. So, to really use our skill and our kindness, our compassion wisely, first step is to try and stop harming. That sounds so easy. Is it? When you're mad at somebody, is it easy to keep your mouth closed? to take out the duct tape and put the duct tape here so that you don't vomit all your anger on top of the other person. It's not so easy, is it? Yeah. So this is something, very fortunately, the Buddha talked a lot about how to overcome anger, you know, and that is a really difficult thing. Yeah, really difficult. But there is a way to do it. I even wrote a book about it. Yeah, you want to buy my book? I should tell you the title. Then you will all buy my book. Yeah, and I get, what, 8% on it? I don't even keep track of what they send me because writing books, unless you write a bestseller for New York Times, forget it, you know? But I'm not doing it for the money, you know. And besides, I got to confess, okay? My book about anger, it's titled Working with Anger. It's entirely plagiarized, 100% plagiarized. Yeah. Fortunately, the person who did the original work is no longer alive. There was the Buddha, and then there was an Indian sage named Shantideva, 8th century. Yeah. He wrote this wonderful book called Engaging in the Bodhisattva's Deeds. And chapter 6 was all about fortitude, how to work with your anger. Yeah. That chapter was my most precious book, precious chapter. I studied it so much because in the work that I did, you know, oh my goodness, sometimes I would get so angry. Yeah. And I had to rely on them, you know. So he wrote his book in the 8th century. All the ideas are from Shantideva. Yeah. And I owe a lot to him. He's not suing me for plagiarism. But my idea wasn't to be better than Shantideva. My idea was, here is something incredibly valuable. I want to share it with other people because I know how painful anger is. Yeah. Nobody's happy when they're angry. I mean, anger, it affects your health. Yeah, it affects your happiness. It affects how you speak to other people. It's not the cause of happiness at all. Yeah. So, how to overcome anger? Yeah, here's where compassion comes in. Here's where seeing kindness comes in. Yeah. If we can look at the person who's harming us or who we think is harming us, because sometimes they have no intention of harming us, but we are misinterpreting what they say and what they mean. Yeah. In fact, sometimes we're a little bit ego-sensitive. Yeah, anybody here ego-sensitive besides me? Yeah. And so we see everything in the world through this teeny tiny periscope of how it affects me. Me, I, my, and mine. That is the criteria of what is important. So I have all my little sensitivities, things that I'm very sensitive about. I expect other people to know what my sensitivities are without me telling them. And they should know that I have those buttons, the things that I'm sensitive about. And they should not press my buttons. Okay, so all of you, do you know what my buttons are? Yeah? Is your purpose in life to not press my buttons and to tell me how wonderful I am? You're looking at me like, what are you talking about? Yeah? So what is the problem? Why do I get angry? Because of my sensitivities. Because I have buttons. Yeah? When my buttons get pushed, I can't blame you for pushing my buttons. Because my buttons are my responsibility. They aren't yours. You didn't create them. I'm responsible for my own buttons. And if I am sensitive about something, yeah, that's my ego sensitivity, my button. And if I want to not get so angry and upset when somebody presses my buttons accidentally, then I need to do something about my buttons. Yeah? So what am I sensitive about? Well, I bet everybody here doesn't like, is sensitive to criticism. Yeah? Everybody? We don't like being criticized. Somebody looking at us and saying, you want to do what? You think that is a good idea? You know, what planet are you on that you think like this or do this or act like this? Yeah. But why do I react to criticism that way? You know, because I would much rather people tell me how wonderful I am. Yeah? I want to hear praise from A to Z and beyond. Yeah? But I don't get all the praise and appreciation that I want. Yeah? And that's other people's fault. Really? Their job in the universe is to cater to my ego? I don't think so. Yeah. But that same person who just told me that my idea was berserky has also been kind to me. Yeah. Especially if you're working together. Like I learned today in Microsoft, you all work together in teams. Yeah, you are dependent on other people. Yeah, and you have a whole hierarchy. I saw the whole part of the diagram. Oh my goodness. You always are working together with other people. And those people are kind. Yeah? They're trying to do what is best. You're trying to do what is best. We may have different ideas of what best is. We may have different approaches to getting there. But all of us mean well. Yeah, all of us mean well. Can we see that in the other people that we work with? That people mean well. They're doing their best. Yeah, and in that way, they're kind. And we benefit from it. And sometimes, I'm going to tell you a secret, sometimes other people's ideas are better than mine. I really hate to admit that, you know, but everybody knows it anyway. You know, some days my ideas, believe it or not, are not the best ones in the world, and I can learn something from someone else if I slow down and listen. And instead of saying, that's not going to work, if I said, help me understand the advantage of doing that. Instead of going on attack mode, ask a question. Yeah, because clearly the other person thinks doing whatever it is a good way. I don't understand how they're thinking. Help me understand how you're thinking that this is a good way to do it. Yeah? And then I apply the duct tape and I listen to what they say without interrupting them and saying, yes, but blah, 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 and telling them my idea. I sit back and I listen and I think about what they say. And then I thank them for sharing. And then we can have some dialogue. Yeah? That works much better than, attack mode. Okay. So I think I've talked long enough, huh? We have a few minutes for questions and comments, maybe answers. I'm not guaranteeing answers.
You know, we're always taught that self-interest in capitalism is the basis of innovation. And what I think I hear you saying is altruism can be more effective in achieving a greater good.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, what he says, he's the one who I learned, one of my primary teachers. He says, if you want to work for your own self-interest, the best way to work for your own self-interest is by taking care of others. What? Taking care of others, caring about others is working in my self-interest? Think about it. If we don't take care of others, what kind of world do we live in? Yeah? And when other people are unhappy because we don't care beans about them, so I'm just going to do what I want and I don't care about them, yeah, then I'm going to be living in a society full of unhappy people. What do unhappy people do? Yeah, they get angry and they vent on other people. And who are the people that is going to be affected by their unhappiness? Me. So that's why I said, if you want to, work in your own self-interest, take care of people around you. Take care of others that we share the planet and the universe with, because, they are the source of everything we have and everything we know. And if we benefit them, they always reciprocate. Whereas if we're hostile and we're only looking out for ourselves, then, they're going to go on attack mode because we aren't being fair. Yeah, we're just looking out for ourselves. We aren't being fair. Yeah. So, yes, that is what I'm saying.
How can, I have a question, how can compassion and wisdom work together in a workplace?
Okay.
Like, I have an employee who doesn't do the work on time,
Mm-hmm.
so I have to be compassionate at the same time, but I have to be rude sometimes. Is that okay?
It's not a question of okay or not. It's a question of, does it benefit? Yeah. I see the value in deadlines, but what I have learned in life is as soon as you have a plan, you know what is not going to happen. As soon as you have a deadline, chances are you won't make it. Yeah, because we make plans, and life, as they say, life happens. All sorts of things come out that you never expected or thought about. Yeah, so within deadlines, within plans, there has to be flexibility, and there has to be concern about the welfare of the people who are executing those plans and supposed to meet those deadlines. You know, deadlines sometimes need to get moved. Plans need to be revamped. Yeah, and this is life because we can plan everything out, but we don't have control over everything, do we? Yeah, we human beings, there's actually, we think we have control over a lot of things, but we don't have much control over many things in our life. Yeah? Okay, let me give you an example. I'll tell you about, we're building a Buddha hall at our monastery. So we signed a contract with a contractor. Yeah? And the building was going to be done in 1 year for a certain amount of money. In July, it'll now be 3 years. Building isn't done yet. And the money is 30% more than what the original cost was. Yeah, why? Because they forgot to put in this, they forgot to do that. Then COVID happened, all the prices went up, the transportation links and connections were, you know, people couldn't get through the different canals and shipping was a mess. You know, all this happened. It wasn't in our plan. Life happened. We had to, you know, and then we were ready to sign on completion in February. And what happened? We live in a climate where it freezes, where it snows in the winter. A pipe in the attic above the second floor froze and it burst. Water all over the place. We're now having to repair things in our brand new building. Yeah. These are things that happen in life. We have to be flexible and learn to adapt to these things, because otherwise we're going to go crazy putting so much pressure on ourselves, and we're going to make other people crazy too. And you know, why do young people have so much anxiety now? It's because there's so much pressure. And you know, we cannot, we're doing this to ourselves in the way we organize a workplace. You know, the people who work there are important, and we have to, you know, take care of them if we're going to work together in harmony and make a product that's going to be really wonderful, that benefits others. Yeah. So sometimes you're the manager and you maybe have to go to your boss and speak on behalf of your team and say, you know, people were working really hard, we did our best, all these things came up that were unexpected. Yeah. And we just have to adjust.
Sometimes when I look at the news or get to know about the world, it just breaks my heart, or like you feel almost physically sick. So how do you deal with global sadness?
Yeah. So looking, you mean at the state of the world and what's happening, what you read in the news, and then just feeling depressed about it.
Knowing that I can't make much difference.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel the same way. You know, it's like I care, but how much difference can I make? We can make difference to the people in our own immediate environment, for sure. Yeah. And that's important. You know, I look at the Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King and these people, you know, who affect a broad swath of people. But those people are not in our families. They're not in our workplaces. We are. Yeah. So if we want to, you know, do something, we have to do it with the people around us. If you know, so we do that, and then we're contributing for the welfare of others. Yeah. Nobody's asking us to save the world, and no one person can do that. Yeah. But we can influence people in a positive way. And so we do that, and we take joy in doing that. And it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. Yeah.
I think you said deadlines and things. Much of the unskillful behaviors in the workplace, I think that comes from the fact that we are all stressed out because there is too much, and actually it's getting worse and worse, like with AI and things, like we are doing more and more work, which leads to more and more stress. And then everybody who's stressed, they are behaving in more and more unskillful ways with all the teammates and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it boils down to people managing the stress. Like, how does compassion play as role in like reducing that stress and going back to that calm state so people can
Yeah.
relate in a better way at work?
Okay. Yeah. How do you deal with the stress? Well, first of all, it relates a lot to her question. I realize I can't control everything. And I realize that I cannot make everybody happy. Yeah. And, you know, that's okay. I've got to be okay with it because that's the reality of the situation. I cannot control every factor in something, and I cannot make everybody happy in terms of going along with their aims and their plans. So I think one thing is just to start out with accepting that. And nobody can make everybody else happy. We're all in the same boat. Yeah? But I can do something to lighten others' stress. Yeah, I can do something to bring some kindness into this world. Yeah, and so this is the practice of thanking your garbage collector and saying and smiling at the people when you're in a traffic jam. Boy, does Seattle have traffic jams. Realizing, they want to get home or get where they're going as much as I do. We're all in this together. Yeah? Can I smile at the other people in the cars? Can I let somebody go in front of me, meaning that I will get there one micro amount of time longer because I am one car back, because I let somebody cut in front of me? So I can do just small things, and just that is good enough. One of my teachers, he had these very pithy little phrases, and he used to say, "Good enough, dear." He called everybody dear, "Good enough, dear. What you did is good enough," because everybody is working the best they can. Yeah. Now you might say, well, somebody could work harder if they only did blah, 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 blah. Well, yes, if they only did blah, blah, but they aren't doing that. And I can't force them. And maybe there's some hindrance to them doing that. They're doing the best they can within their own external situation and within their own way of thinking and their own way of handling problems. So if I can say, everybody's doing good enough, dear. Yeah? And I'm not going to get stressed about it. Yeah? When this water pipe broke and it flooded upstairs and downstairs in our brand new building, I have no control. I can be bummed out. I could swear. It's not going to make me happy. It's not going to get things repaired. Or I could just accept the reality of the situation and we have to deal with it. Yeah, no sense getting stressed. Yeah, so this is changes in our mind because sometimes we have an expectation and we cling to our expectation being met. But we cannot control all the factors, all the causes and conditions that would lead to that. So we can fight with reality or we can accept reality. Yeah, accepting it is easier. It's kinder to ourselves, it's kinder to the people that we live with. Because if we get stressed, and we take it out, our stress on the people around us. Yeah? And those are often the people we care about the most in your family. Yeah? So